censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rebel News Daily live stream. My name is Dakota Christensen, and I am joined here by the lovely Nat.
Hello, everybody.
And today we're going to be talking about some pretty crazy stuff going on. We have some breaking news coming out of Ottawa about the police essentially declaring war on the peaceful protesters and truckers there. So a lot more to come on that. And all sorts of news going on throughout the world right now. It's a crazy world we're living in. Lots of stuff going on. But we're here to share it all with you and give you our thoughts and commentary and just have a good time together talking about the insanity that is our world.
Yep. We're all in this together, folks.
Well, we really are.
Yeah, I mean, literally we.
Yeah, we're in this together. The politicians off in their own separate elitist world.
Yeah.
But we have some crazy stuff. But just to open it off today, because essentially, for those of you who don't know the program, we have a bunch of headlines pulling together, lots of news to talk about, and we essentially we give you the news, we help break it down for you. You can interact with us through, I believe, Rumble rants and hyper chats, super chats, whatever they call them on whichever platform you're watching. Unfortunately, YouTube has demonetized us. They really don't like us. But if you go over to one of the alternative platforms, Rumble, Odyssey, Super you can send us your chats. We'll read them out, have a great interaction, and we can have that fun community building that way. And we go through all the news of the day. So
let's do it.
We jump into it. First headline of the day, because we have so much to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy stuff going on.
It's a crazy world.
Crazy world. First thing, this just kind of caught our attention because we are rebel news here, all right? We're not about conforming to things. We march to the beat of our own drum. We like to think of ourselves as free thinkers and challengers of narratives.
Oh, yeah.
And, this headline caught my eye this morning. Apparently, a school in Windsor has removed the word rebel because they were called the Riverside Rebels, I think because they didn't want their children being little nonconformists.
Okay, but don't you also think this just kind of speaks to the fact that people are way too sensitive?
Oh, yeah.
Like, way too sensitive. Like, is the word rebel really triggering or something? Like, I don't understand that.
Like if you read what they actually said, like, can we even just scroll right back up to the very top there, to the headline and subheadline? If we look at that there, just removal of rebel name from Riverside Secondary School draws mixed reactions. Okay. No longer will they have any reference to the word rebel in its sports team mascot or official school imagery. Okay, maybe that's not the line I was thinking of. Maybe down a little bit. My bad. But I was thinking of the reasoning. They said they didn't want to have anything possibly offensive or... Yeah,
they want to create safe, caring, and inclusive learning and working environments for all students and staff.
Yes.
I don't understand how being a rebel is, arguably by removing the word rebel from any sort of school like emblems or anything, is not inclusive. Because what if you consider yourself a rebel?
Yeah, exactly. It's like we don't want to encourage our kids to be rule breakers. And I mean, sure, that's fair, but also it just seems a little much.
Yeah, you should be encouraging your kids to be free thinkers. Like, diversity of thought is an important thing. Critical thinking, these are things that we want to instill in our kids. And I think that they've just taken this word way too seriously.
Exactly. And I mean, if we can just pull the article back up for a second there, if you look at the actual logo, it's fair there is like some Confederate flag imagery there, and I can understand if they don't like that, they want to remove that. Sure. How about just a redesign? Like, I think the Riverside Rebels is a fantastic name for a school, and if you want some school spirit, we're the rebels out here fighting together. Like, think Star Wars, guys. The rebels are the good guys. The Empire, they're evil. You know?
Rebel News. We're
think
the good
Rebel
guys.
News. Rebel can be great, but anyways, that's just a thing there. It's just another thing in our absolute cancel culture, offensive world. Not even the slightest thing that goes against the nice, cushy world we're building.
Homeschool your kids. I'm just kidding.
Homeschool your kids out there. Private schools are nice if you got tons of cash. Otherwise, honestly, like for me, when it's I want to start a family and have kids, I'm thinking escape to Texas or Florida, nice private school, or homeschool my kids. I don't know. Or maybe we can be successful in redeeming our nation up here. I don't know.
Let's
have some optimism.
Yeah, God willing. God willing.
Oh, man. On that, I'll let you take the lead on this next story here on our headlines.
Oh, man. You guys, this one's a little cringe, okay? So we all know Vice. Vice is pretty outrageous as a news source to begin with, very progressive, very left-wing, but they've taken things to a whole new level here. So apparently Vice is telling people to wear pantyhose on their faces to enhance their masking efficiency. Okay, so we could just start off right out the gate here saying that we already know the data has told us that masks are more or less ineffective at preventing the spread of COVID.
I said, let me stop you there now. We are still on YouTube. So, guys, we love masks.
I love masks.
Are safe and effective.
Yes.
YouTube overlords, we wear masks all the time because we know they are our greatest tool other than the vaccines in stopping the spread of COVID-19 and having it kill us all.
You're right. My mistake. I had a mental lapse there. I'm wearing a mask right now. I love them.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, we normally start the stream on YouTube.
Yes.
And we talk about things that YouTube will allow us to talk about without just cutting our stream off or we've already been demonetized, deplatforming our channel. And eventually, to really give our honest, open thoughts fully on topics, we have to shut off our YouTube stream and we stream exclusively on Rumble, Odyssey, and Super U. So if you haven't already, feel free. Oh, and Getter now.
Oh, yeah.
Getter as well.
Hi,
yeah,
folks.
we're officially streaming on Getter. Shout out to anyone who's on Getter now. That is a new addition to our streams. My apologies for forgetting about that. Feel free to hop over onto any of our alternative platforms other than YouTube if you want to watch this full stream in its entirety. Still completely free. It just, YouTube doesn't like us talking freely. But as you were saying that before I jumped in there.
So data aside.
Yes,
let's move
data
on from
aside.
Like data aside.
YouTube doesn't like science.
Now we're in trouble here. But pantyhose? Like, come on. Okay,
Yeah.
I think data aside, masks are kind of silly looking when you wear them, okay? Let's throw on a sheer piece of women's clothing on top of that. Like, come on, look at these photos.
I honestly don't like this. I see this headline and I think this has to be the Babylon Bee or
See
something.
the rubber
like,
band?
What? This has to be some sort of satire. But no, I mean, this is. I suppose this is maybe I haven't actually read the article myself, but maybe Vice is being kind of playful here. But it seems so comical to me that anyone could take themselves even remotely seriously reporting on
like
this.
someone took the time to write this. Like, and I'm assuming they were being serious when they wrote this. Like, I mean, I you shouldn't assume anything, I guess. But still, like, it's. We live in a clown world.
Yeah.
We live in a clown
it's
world.
wild. Yeah, the fact that is a genuine news headline and not outright satire. Just,
It is like Babylon Bee. That's a good one.
It is very true. But so those are some, a little more lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned earlier, there is some pretty intense stuff going on in the nation's capital right now in Ottawa. With, of course, if you've been following us at all, if you make sure to check out convoyreports.com, where we put all of our coverage of the Truckers for Freedom Convoy that has been going on, the massive protests going on in Ottawa. There's that blockade at the Alberta-Montana border that's been going on for many days now. Truckers and supporters standing up all over the country protesting against COVID restrictions and vaccine mandates and all of the like. But Trudeau, it would seem, is kind of shaking in his boots. And some Liberal Party insiders have spoken to elect Conservatives. It is a pro-conservative platform. And essentially said from these party insiders that Trudeau is, quote, panicked, worried, and bruised. It seems that he's backed into a corner here and he's ready to lash out.
I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious. I mean, he did literally hide.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he was in hiding for a majority of the convoy. So, I mean, this is completely unsurprising to me.
I don't find it surprising, but it's interesting to hear this from the horse's mouth of these Liberal Party insiders. Because, recap of events here, like you were saying, the truckers were coming to town, they're going to flood Ottawa. Trudeau says, oh, man, guys, I've had an exposure to someone who tested positive for COVID. I tested negative, but I still have to isolate for 5 days.
And then he tested positive.
Yeah, runs away, hides, and then says he tested positive, but then the next day, or even that same day after saying he tested positive, comes out with a press conference surrounded by reporters to condemn the truckers and call them racist, xenophobes, and terrorists.
Of course.
Which is fascinating.
Oh, completely fascinating.
But, so at this point, I mean, it just seems like there's nothing he can do because there are all these big rigs across the city, all these massive trucks all over, and you have all these, there were hundreds of thousands of protesters in the city over the weekend, and there are still numbers there now and more returning this weekend. And it seems he's kind of been backed into a corner because they have been so peaceful and so polite.
Yes.
I mean, like, I was there on the ground reporting on this. It was it was pretty amazing being there. It was a very true Canadian protest. Everyone was picking up after the garbage and being polite and handing out free food. And like it was so immensely peaceful that if there was any sort of crackdown on this, it would be such a bad image.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like conservatives, when they're protesting, always have to be on their best behavior, right? Because the media is going to try to demonize them, and they'll grasp at any opportunity to make them look bad. to push their narrative,
well,
right?
yeah, and I mean, you compare that to the Black Lives Matter protests.
Right.
You look at Chaz/Chop in Seattle, the autonomous zone that was set up, where they literally mostly peaceful. The fiery yet mostly peaceful protests in the summer of 2020, and there were absolute apologists all up and down the media and the mainstream leftist, quote unquote liberal politicians, sort of defending all of that. And yet here we have this group of working class people who are coming to Ottawa to make themselves be heard and to basically demand that they have their constitutional rights and freedoms be defended.
Well, that's just that's
they
absurd.
And who have been outrageously peaceful, who have not done anything wrong, and then have just had a handful of agents provocateurs out there, like one or two people with Confederate and Nazi flags trying to make everyone look bad, and suddenly they're all a bunch of racists and xenophobes. But it seems that 1 week after all of the the cameras and the focus have been on there, Daddy Trudeau has had enough.
True Daddy.
It feels like good old True Daddy. It seems like he's ready to crack down. He's panicked and worried, and we've seen announcements from the Ottawa Police and the RCMP stating that they're ready to deploy additional resources to crack down on the protesters. And there's this string of tweets from the Ottawa Police that is actually shocking to read through. Like I said, these are completely peaceful protesters, and you read through this string of tweets from the Ottawa Police saying they're deploying all these additional officers, they're going to start enforcing everything they can, that they're taking down names and writing down license plates of everyone who's in the city so they can enforce. And it seems like they're going to, be trying to even instigate stuff. Like, this is just my personal speculation, and there could be some heavy-handed responses and arrests. Like, it's my feeling that Trudeau is just so desperate here, and he's finally decided it's time to crack the whip.
No, absolutely. And I think it's kind of a good sign that we are seeing the police come out and kind of have these sort of threatening messages, because it does prove that they are scared. Like when people come together and are united for a cause such as this, I think that really scares these globalist elites, and I think this is a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when I was there on the ground, all the police over the past week have been extremely professional and respectful. They gave a lot of room and space to the protesters. All the ones I talked to just said, you know what, like, they were out in droves. There are so many police on the ground around the area of Ottawa where the truckers are parked around Parliament, and they were very respectful, and they just said, we're just here to keep the peace and make sure everyone's safe and, warm, and to help people if they need it, and you know what, we're just here. There was a good bit of sort of political showmanship. Like, there were cops just standing there in formation with riot gear. It was kind of eerie, but
bit of theater.
Yeah, a bit of theater, political theater for sure.
Right.
But the cops themselves were they were standing in formation. There was a guy standing next to them taking selfies and people chatting with them. The cops were just like, yeah, we've been ordered to stand here. We're just kind of hanging out. How's it going, guys? But it seems like they're cracking down and adding more officers, and it just seems like they're teasing, more stuff that could be going down this weekend in Ottawa, and it's kind of shocking the things they're doing. So feel free to, if you want to go hit up Twitter and look at the Ottawa Police thread. We've been tweeting all over that.
Especially though, like a week later, like this protest has been going on for a week, which means that that's ample time for something to have gone awry. These people have maintained peace. They're not threatening anyone. I know the horn honking is probably very annoying for people in the neighborhood, but you know what else is annoying? Having your freedoms taken away for 2 years.
Yeah,
so.
it's very true. People and technically, yes, like there are many things that would technically be breaking the law here in terms of, I imagine they don't have a lot of the proper permits they need for protesting. They are blocking city streets.
Right.
They would be having noise violations with all these bylaws and stuff. But the intention here is this is an active protest. This is in and of itself a rebellion, and they've been breaking these smaller laws. They have overall been very compliant with the police.
Yeah, they've been working together.
They've been working together. They've been very compliant.
And we've seen that a lot in Alberta too, on the border. When they were negotiating with the RCMP, the truckers were very amicable.
Yeah, these are people who are at their wits' ends. They feel like they've been backed into a corner and they have no other choice, and they're willing to put it all on the line right now. And we're in other situations, this would be a violent revolution, but it's not. It's very polite, very Canadian, very peaceful. Canadian. And this headline, which I think is really important to talk about while we're talking about all of this, it came from Blacklock's reporter in Ottawa, showing the crime data, just the preliminary police data, the statistics here of crime this past week in the area of Ottawa where all the truckers and protesters are, compared to the week before. There has been a significant drop in crime in Ottawa since the protesters and the truckers have arrived.
You know, it's so funny. We're always told to look at the data, and yet these people who are preaching this at us can't practice what they preach. Look at the data, y'all.
Yeah, if you read through there, I read through it quickly. I'm trying to remember exactly what it said there, but I think it said there were like 30-something incidents of violent crime where the police were called. 31 police calls for robbery, assault, drug trafficking, public drunkenness, stolen vehicles, store breaking, and other crimes in the week prior to the protest. And there were 3 reports of street crime since the protest began for mischief, robbery, and auto theft. So one from 31 to 3. The week before they came was 31. The week while they were there was 3 in that region. That's a shocking drop in crime. It seems all these truckers and protesters coming to town has been a major deterrent for criminals, actually.
So thank a trucker.
Yeah, so get out there and thank a trucker, honk your horns. But it's just astounding to see that the police and the politicians are trying to frame this group of protesters in Ottawa as violent, dangerous extremists, and we need to bring the police there. We've seen all this aggression from them. I've seen nothing of the sort. I mean, look at this clip here. People are out there celebrating and having a good time, and they're just, trying to make the most of this situation while they see what they believe they're doing is fighting at their wits' end for their freedom.
Their dancing sucks, but they aren't terrorists.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. They're having fun. They're having a hoot. Just let these people. This is all we have at this point. Everything's been taken away from so many of these people via vaccine mandates, etc. Let's just let the people dance.
Yeah, exactly. Their dancing might be offensive to the eyes.
Yeah.
It's not quite an act of terror. It's just I've seen so much wholesome stuff this past weekend when I was on the ground there of people looking out for each other, helping each other.
Refreshing.
So many of these people are just good, honest, working class, rural, farmer type, homey, folksy people who are just they're such good people with good spirits and good, kind of manners to them who really actually care. And everyone has just been so polite and kind. And people coming from all different backgrounds, they're trying to paint this as white supremacists.
I know.
There were so many people of all different races and backgrounds, religions and ethnicities coming together over this. So agree or disagree if you like, but all the labels of white supremacy and terrorism and all
Fake
the same,
news.
all the aggression. It is focusing on the narrowest 0.00001% of some people in Ottawa. If that. What's shocking is you look at this group of people and we're talking about crime in Ottawa.
Yeah.
If you look at any city, of course there are going to be criminals and people there. You don't say everyone in Ottawa is a terrorist because this criminal did this.
Yeah.
A couple of people in the area of the protest did some things that are unacceptable, but that's a couple of people out of hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people in that area.
Not to mention,
not even necessarily associated with the protest.
Absolutely, and not to mention anyone who is participating in these protests. I'm almost certain would very likely condemn any actual violent or criminal act.
Oh, absolutely.
From someone else who's allegedly involved in the protest. I just don't see them encouraging that kind of behavior because, like we were saying earlier, the media and the government want them to mess up.
Yeah, and everyone I talked to was so much on it. They're saying, well, this is a peaceful protest. We are here. There will be no violence.
No funny business.
No funny business, guys.
Yeah.
They were more than aware of all the eyes on them and of every possible attempt that would be made to try and paint them as bad actors, even though they're nothing of the sort.
No.
And they just stress so much no matter what happens. So hopefully we see if the police do move in this weekend, as it looks like they're going to, hopefully we will see classic civil libertarian Martin Luther King-esque type civil disobedience in which they will just sit there and if the police will arrest them, they'll arrest them. If they're going to haul them off to jail, let it happen. I really hope that they have such willpower and restraint that there won't be any backlash because the way I could see this going down is police move in, they start ticketing people, and there could be some provocation there. And then if a fight or two breaks out, it feels like this is all over.
No, that's a good point. I think people need to really be on their best behavior. Don't let the narrative win, you guys. If you're going out to Ottawa today or if you're attending a protest, please practice peaceful protesting.
Yeah, actually, on that note, I would love to bring this up. This wasn't on our agenda here, but if our absolute crack producer can pull this up.
Yeah, shout out to AD.
Yeah, the Democracy Fund yesterday released some really great stuff on the do's and don'ts of peaceful protesting. The Democracy Fund are our charitable partners who we have been working with our Fight Vaccine Passports and Fight the Fines projects, among others. They're a registered Canadian charity, and they put out some really great content yesterday on basically knowing your rights around peaceful protesting and how you should deal with the police if the police do come after you. And they've also said they're going to be announcing free legal consultation for those who are protesting in Ottawa, just helping people to know their rights when it comes to this.
Yeah, I believe you can find this on Instagram as well, the Democracy Fund. And this is their website, which is thedemocracyfund.ca. So definitely head over there and give this a read, because I think it's really important for people to be aware.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, the democracyfund.ca, because a lot of people go out there and they don't know their rights when it comes to dealing with the police, dealing with lawyers, the best way to do things. Like, for example, we've been sent so many videos of, oh, look at this shocking thing this officer did to us because this person wasn't wearing a mask or this person was here. But they also did things that made it worse, like they refused to give their name to an officer when the officer asked. Like, you're required to give your name and identify yourself to an officer, and if you give a fake name or you refuse to answer and not identify yourself, you can be charged with something else on top of that, and that can be the thing they nail you for, even if the initial thing they came after you for wasn't actually something you could get prosecuted against.
Don't provoke anything.
So, don't provoke. Make sure to check out that guide.
Yes, definitely.
If you are going to be in Ottawa this weekend or protesting anywhere, because we're seeing these protests
across the country, really.
Across the country. There's stuff going on in Alberta and every major city. In Toronto, there's one planned for this weekend where people are freaking out about it. There's all sorts of stuff happening everywhere. But there are some cracks starting to form.
Yes,
like we were saying, Trudeau kind of hiding and worrying, and seems like he's lashing out now, and because this police stuff seems very politically motivated and seems like it's on marching orders.
It seems like a bit of theater to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Alberta, with that blockade of truckers at the border between Alberta and Montana, it seems like Jason Kenney's starting to crack, and it seems like he has a revolt on his hand politically with the United Conservative Party in Alberta. Seems like some MLAs, the members of the Legislative Assembly,
some rural MLAs,
the rural MLAs, the politicians in Alberta, they seem to support the truckers on this, and they seem to be really pressuring Kenney to back down. And it's been very interesting over the past few days to see Kenney go from, all right, guys, completely unrelated to the truckers, we are exploring maybe an end to this vaccine passport program, the
Such a politician's
exemptions program, as they call it, going to, okay, probably by the end of this month, to, okay, by the end of this week, and we do have a video of him.
The end of this year, to the end of this millennia.
Yeah, but it was slowly going down with towards the better thing of, end of this month, okay, maybe end of this week, okay. So this video came out last night that we shared this.
Yes.
If we can throw to that of Jason Kenney making the announcement saying he'll be ending restrictions. Check this out.
But if you mean what is the end of the restrictions, as I've just outlined, early next week we will be publishing and presenting a safe plan to lift public health measures in Alberta, to do so safely, to do so gradually, starting with the elimination of the restriction exemption program. I would also like to see
vaccine
measures affecting
passport.
children lifted as soon as possible, because I think there's a basic unfairness, injustice in many of these measures having had a disproportionate impact on kids, as we now know, on their mental health. For
2 years
disease
too late
that
there,
has
Kenny.
Poses a much lower level of risk to the health of children. So the issue here on public health measures has always been about protecting our hospitals. And overwhelmingly, the people who are prone to be hospitalized are now unvaccinated people who are much older in the age spectrum. It's always been, of course, like somebody who is 80 or over apparently is 1,000 times more likely to die of COVID-19 than a child or an adolescent. So when it comes to children, I think there's a very powerful case for us to prioritize lifting damaging public health restrictions that are affecting children as a priority in our plan to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's so hard to trust these people when they. I mean, I know we should be excited and optimistic, but these people give us whiplash. Like, it's been 2 years of this. Like, can we really expect that this will actually come to fruition?
Yeah, it's so tough to say. You know what? I've got something I really want to say about this. I don't think it's YouTube safe. So there's a comment I want to make about Jason Kenney here and these politicians. I'm about to go off on it. I think it's time to move off of YouTube exclusively over to the alternatives: Rumble, Odyssey, Casey, Super You,
Bye.
and Getter now.
Yes.
Make sure to click on the link in the description in YouTube. It should be there. If not, I'll give you a moment there. I'm just going to wait for confirmation that we are off of YouTube.
And don't forget to submit your chats because we'll be reading those at the end of the show. Hey-o.
This is true.
And
This
I
is
think
true.
we're off of
All right,
YouTube.
we're off of